The Reset podcast is sponsored by Bose. With my new Bose QC35 headphones, nothing gets between me and my music. The noise canceling is world class. They're completely Bluetooth, so there's no wires. The sound is amazing. My producer and I love these so much that we use them to record every single show. For more information about Bose QC35 headphones and other Bose products, check out Bose.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignott, co-founder of the brand experience agency DFlash, and we're coming to you from New York City. Each week, I bring an influential friend from marketing, business, or even government, and we'll delve into what's really happening in the industry and try and make sense of it all. Of course, we can't talk about marketing without talking about how it impacts this very moment in time. We'll laugh, we'll debate, and we'll give frank insight into the ongoing reset of the world of marketing and how to navigate your way through, all while enjoying wine and french fries on my couch. Today's conversation features Leslie Waller, founder of the Blue Opal. Leslie has an amazing career where she worked for a number of CPG brands as well as big car makers. We spend a great deal of time talking about how to actually be a better leader, whether it's joining a mastermind group, finding a business coach, but also when you're a startup, how do you get a big brand to pay you a lot of money? There's lots of nuggets of wisdom there. Take a listen to our great conversation. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Sure. We're so happy to have you. So whenever we start the show, we always have a great icebreaker question, which is simple and easy and always goes in really weird and wacky directions, which is why we start the show with it. So, Leslie, what was your first job?
My first job, I've been working since I was 14. So yeah, I was one of those kids who had to go to the office and get a worker's permit. My first job was I became a camp counselor of the camp that I actually was attending because I had aged out. So
makes perfect sense.
But still could not be home
They're
by
like,
myself.
no, let's go. Bye.
So then I became the counselor, and for several summers and working with kids. And then my first kind of real job where money was used.
So that was unpaid. They made you a camp counselor and they didn't pay you.
I think maybe there. I don't think that I got paid there. I think it was
wrong.
Just in name only. I became a counselor. And then I worked at MBNA. I sold credit cards over the phone. I was the person who would call during your dinner and asked you for your social security number so I can sign you up for a credit card. Yay!
Oh, wait. I think I had one of those credit cards. I think I got one of those when I first got to college. Because maybe they were giving away a T-shirt or something. And that got me to give them my social security number. So that was basically you.
The barrier was really, really low now when I think about it in retrospect. 25 years ago to get someone's social security number over the phone.
It's kind of crazy to think that hi, so I'm such and such from such and such, which could be a complete and utter lie, but what's your name, date of birth, where do you live, and your social security number? Oh, thank you. I'll send you a mug and a credit card. Go.
That was pretty much what I was offering. A credit card. Debt.
And you're like, okay. And how did you even get that
16,
job?
Where I could not even apply for the card that I was selling.
You were not, I get the feeling that you were not an adult when you were doing this.
No.
How does one get hired to sell credit cards when they are not actually old enough to get a credit card?
It is the cycle. It's the virtuous cycle of capitalism. I don't know.
It ain't right? I think that's what you probably would say.
Yes.
That ain't right?
No.
And that ain't right.
And you thought I would have learned to not get a credit card because of my experience, but no.
You're like, nope.
No, absolutely not.
You're like, no, wait, can I get a discount or additional limits?
It was fun. The selling point was you could get pictures on these credit cards. So I focused mostly on NASCAR. So your favorite NASCAR driver could be on the front.
Wait a minute.
Of your credit card.
You were selling credit cards to NASCAR people?
Yes.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Cleveland area, Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Oh. So I guess it's kind of NASCAR country.
No.
No?
I was calling all over the country, but not in my own neighborhood, I don't think.
Got it. Okay. So people who live NASCAR.
Yes. I'll tell you, cold calling, you pick up, I developed a thick skin early.
I was going to say, that must have been horrible because you're like a nice, innocent 16-year-old, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you convinced them. So what was your close rate?
you're on the call, you're on the line for 4 hours, let's say a 30-minute break. If you can get 10 people out of, let's just say they make 20 calls an hour to say yes, you've had a spectacular night. So how many no's is that? So you're getting about what? 70 no's. That was my evenings. Had a lot of rejection, so built up a tough skin.
What was the best someone ever said to you, and what was the worst someone ever said to you when you called them in the middle of their dinner asking if they wanted a credit card?
Let's see if I can remember. I remember the best thing for me for that job was that I was speaking to the matriarch, the mother of the family, and she literally passed the phone around. Her husband signed up for one. She had friends, like everyone signed up for this card,
Which whole generation,
which was like I could have just hung up the phone and I was done for the night. Like, thank you. I don't have to deal with this god awful
it just sounds like a terrible job.
It was you know what, it could have been a terrible job, but honestly, you got so used to not being afraid of someone just saying no. Hell no.
Leave me alone.
Or that anxiety you get to when you get to the part of the application when they say like, so thank you for your name and your address. The next thing I need is your social.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't even. Wow. Wowzers. So I would imagine that also kind of helped you develop some pretty good sales skill, though.
It did.
That was the beginning.
That was the germ
in
of
the bottle.
Crafting the, you kind of know when you got them. And you know when you've appealed to them. When I can talk to you about Dale Earnhardt for 5-10 minutes before I get to what I'm selling, I know I got you.
That is amazing. I mean, I know a little bit about NASCAR. I've been to a race, and it's interesting. It's so diverse.
Yeah. Interesting. If you really like cars going around 100 times, yeah.
It's really interesting. Like, there are a lot of different people who go to NASCAR races. Was the one thing I learned. Granted, I was also in the VIP section, so that might have been why my area was a little bit more unique and reflective of America than the stands where people were sitting in like the cheap seats. So I understand.
I would assume that they have a huge diversity program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Very much so. So, okay, so you learned some sales skills there, and now 5 years after you left home, what do you do now, dear Leslie?
So I've had an interesting road. I worked for Ford Motor Company for 7 years. Loved it.
Do you get a free car?
I did get a free car.
Nice.
I would get about, I think it was mileage based. So sometimes, and I was traveling oftentimes 1,000 miles a week, or I was on the road. It was an on the road job. I would talk with dealer owners in Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee. I think we were from Illinois down to the Gulf Coast, and you drive around for 3 months working with dealer owners, helping them, selling them the new cars and trucks that you would see on their lot.
You need this F-150 really, really bad. You know you do.
I had an F-150, so I would trade cars 2 or 3 times a year. I've done an F-150, a Mustang, Focus, everything, Explorer. And so travel the roads. I did that at Ford. I left there, was a marketing manager. So I would do advertising for the Mid-South region. And then I wanted to do more classical CPG work and went to craft, which was totally by fluke. I went to a career fair or something like that. I've said every 5 years I would go and just kind of see what the market's out there.
Show your face. See what's
Show my face. Go what's out there. I'm at the booth for craft, and they had the best snacks.
See
out there.
This is what I tell people when in regard to networking, and they don't believe me. And I thank you for validating my point. I always say, go where the snacks are. Always, because you know what? It's the best icebreaker because you can be there eating the cheese, having a snack, and someone else is there eating the cheese, having a snack. Hey, what brings you here? I don't know. What brings you here? And start the conversation. Like, that's the easiest and best way to get a conversation going is buy the snacks.
Go to the snacks. I went to the snacks. I was quite famished, and I went there. I started eating. I was not interested in craft at the time. They weren't on my radar. Just so happened, to your good point, to be standing next to the HR director. And as we were just chatting it up, he was like, well, by the way, are you looking for a job? I'm like, I guess. Yeah, here. So I interviewed there. Next thing I know, I was flying to New Jersey and was offered a position at Kraft.
So you were still been in Ohio at that point, right?
No, I was in Memphis, Tennessee, working for Ford.
You were in Memphis?
Memphis.
To New Jersey.
To New Jersey. Packed up the car. My outside of interviewing, the next time I went was with a car full of stuff. And I stayed at the extended stay in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Oh, I am so sorry. Girl.
That's where the road led me to.
First of all, just Secaucus alone is, whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
Went there and...
They couldn't even put you in corporate housing? Extended stay?
They gave me money, and I don't know why the best I could come up with was extended stay, but that's what
So your own fault.
It was my own choice. You know, hey, in Memphis, I mean, I'd stayed in extended stay before. So I did the craft thing, worked on several brands doing brand management. Moved remotely, worked in Singapore for 2 years.
What was Singapore like as a Black lady?
Singapore was lovely. And what was really lovely about it is that there was actually an extensive Black community.
Really?
Black American community there.
What are y'all doing there?
Working.
Oh. Okay.
We were all expats. And so, matter of fact, I met a couple there. They had a child while they were there, and that child is my godchild.
Wow.
So, loved working and living in Southeast Asia. It was the greatest experience of my life.
No culture shock at all?
Not as much, not in Singapore. So at that time, the company now is Kraft, and now it's Mondelez. They wanted me to move to Mumbai. I went to Mumbai. So while I was sitting in my apartment in Jersey City, I was like, sure, I can move to Mumbai. No, I don't see a problem with that. I'm sure I can move anywhere. Went to Mumbai, and I was like, so I've been looking on a map, and I think I can live in Singapore and commute to Mumbai.
You're like, nah, I will live here.
So I would spend like 14 days in Singapore, 14 days in Mumbai for like the first 6 months that I was there.
Oh my God.
But
how far was it?
It's a 5.5 hour flight, so it's not really close, but I felt like I sold it to my company because they really wanted someone to live in Mumbai. It was like going from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yeah, it's the San Francisco trip.
Right. So I didn't have problems staying there as long as I could, but as a single woman living in Mumbai was not something, and my first international experience was not something that I was going to be able to do.
Nope.
So, but I loved Indian culture. Those were the greatest teams that I worked with, greatest experience that I had, not just doing the job that I was doing and trying to kind of grow our businesses, but working and motivating different teams who are so culturally different, but still need to get to the same results.
And did you find that like your leadership style had to change when you were in a different country?
My leadership style actually worked better there than it does here in the U.S. I'm definitely more of a relationship type of leader. Like I want to get to know you. I'm trying to pull the best out of you. Mm-hmm. And so, here in the US, we can be very formal. There's the hierarchy or, this is my work self and my outside of work self is someone who's different and you're connecting on different levels. A lot of that you miss in a lot of other markets, especially emerging markets where the lines are more blurred.
Really? Interesting.
The hierarchy is there. Now, if you're the boss, you're the boss.
And you were the boss.
And I was the boss, but you can connect in a different way.
Wow. Okay, so you're in Mumbai and then you're in Singapore. How long do you do that for?
So I do Mumbai, Singapore I'm in Singapore for 2 years. And then the travel there just in general. If you can go to Southeast Asia, go to Southeast Asia. It's some of the most beautiful countries I've ever traveled to. I did that. And so just like how I got there when I said I didn't want to work in North America anymore, get me out of here. And I found my way to Singapore. I was there for 2 years. I was single and I looked around. I was like, well, if I want to stay single,
I'll stay here
for the rest of my life. I will stay here.
I'll get my ass out of here.
But if I want something to change personally, I'm going to have to get back. So I found my way into getting into a role back in the U.S. where the global head of Trident Gum.
Which I have been eating since I was a child.
Yes.
My father is obsessed with Trident gum.
It is the number one brand of gum in the world.
Really?
It is.
I mean, I just remember the long stack that you would get we would get in the 7-Eleven. And my dad is such a purist, he'd only get the regular flavor in the blue.
Oh, the original. Okay.
Yeah, he's that much of a nerd. And he would just, he loves, to this day, he still loves this. Like, I have sent him because, like, I do this thing where I always joke with him and I send him gum whenever we, like, because they live in Florida now. So whenever we, like, send, like, a care package to my parents or something, like, I send my mom, like, all her black hair care products because they can't find any of that stuff in Florida, which is because Florida. But then my dad, we just send him gum. So I still send him, like, the original.
The packs of... Okay. As a parting thought, I will may have to give you some.
Oh Lord,
some Trident to send down. But no, the Trident experience has been great. I've again exposures to different countries. So being the global head, thinking about what the right strategy is across the globe, understanding or looking for synergies. We're more alike than different at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're just people.
Right. We're more alike than different as much as we want to be different. So it's been great. And then I've now cast a wider net for me to do my own thing at Blue Opal Communications, where it's a marketing and brand consultancy where we focus on all of the different things of kind of driving and growing your business. But more importantly, I said, when I start my own thing, I'm going to pick the things that I love most about what I do.
And do those.
And do those things. I wanted to cast a wider net. And I said when I was going to work on my own, I was going to do the things that I enjoyed doing the most. And so a lot of that is the development piece, the leadership development piece. So I love working with teams when I know that they're choosing to give me 150%. And so a lot of that is just tapping into, what gets them going, what gets them excited about the job, really understanding them as a whole self and not just someone who walks in the door and has an assignment to do. So creating the environment for that is what I enjoyed most. So I've incorporated a lot of leadership development and more importantly, the things that I was lacking. So as a Black woman in a corporate environment, I was the only Black woman on my team.
Welcome to my world.
And I've always been the only one that walks in the room, and that's been fine. But there's moments when it's lonely. And you want to have a very vulnerable, honest conversation with someone, and you're like, I'm not sure if I can.
Because you don't run tell the boss because you're an idiot.
Right. Is everything viewed as a competition?
You want to leapfrog me?
All of these things, and you're like, who do I talk to? Who do I just laugh about what came on TV last night?
I watch Housewives. Don't you watch Housewives?
Exactly. All of these things. And really what really came out for me is during my last 2 years with my company, I just had a gut feeling that I was being underpaid.
Really?
And it was just a gut feeling. And I don't know where, I don't know why. And I think it was more so because I knew I'd just gone international. I'm like, I should be getting a little something for this, right?
And nope.
And I didn't know if I could have a conversation with my manager and HR just based on a gut hunch. And when I really didn't when I looked around my internal network of like, well, who can I talk to about this? And I didn't feel comfortable talking to anyone.
Wow.
And I was more comfortable talking to my peers outside who looked like me. I really kind of began to explore this idea of how can I help to facilitate these conversations with like-minded, highly motivated people who really need to work on some, need to have conversations that are a little bit more vulnerable. So also Fire Opal, at Fire Opal, I facilitate mastermind groups.
So, it's funny. Part of the reason that I wanted to have you on the show is because when I heard you speak about this, I was like, I feel, and it's funny that the timing was crazy because I want to say we met on the Thursday. Like that evening, I was on a private Facebook group. I'm a part of a founders, and someone was putting up like, how much does it cost to join a mastermind group? Mm-hmm. And I was seeing the prices. I was like, okay, that's how much this is? Let me talk to Leslie. Because of friends and family. But also, it was a long thread because all these founders were talking about how much they paid for a coach, how much they got for a consultant, how many times they went to a mastermind, and what that actually looked like. And I thought to myself, as, I'm taking my company in a couple different directions this year, as, we are like, I am building a fucking empire. Mm-hmm. And therefore it will have a bunch of different areas to it. And as a result of that, I need to be a better CEO. Mm-hmm. So I've been making investments in doing that so I can become the best possible CEO to run an empire.
Yeah.
And what I now see is that investing in a coach, investing in masterminds are things that you really do need to get to the next level. So how do you sort of know when you are at the point where you need to actually make those investments in coaches and in mastermind groups?
Yeah. I mean, I say coaching for me is, quite frankly, executive coaching makes a lot of sense to me. When I think of business coaching, I kind of have mixed thoughts on that, because I do think a lot of the business coaching is a little bit knowing what you need. I tell people come to me all the time and asking for marketing and brand strategy help. And I'm like, you need business strategy help. You don't know what you're doing.
Step one.
And I can't fix that through telling you anything related to a marketing plan. But what I feel like with mastermind groups and what I do in my business coaching with entrepreneurs is really about being honest about you're generally the person who's standing in the way of you reaching where you need to go. There's no magic pill. I'm not going to say when you, there are a couple of books out there that I think are really good at if you do 1, 2, and 3, launch is a good one like that. Just do these couple of steps and just kind of move with urgency and see where it takes you. Everything that I do as far as business coaching or mastermind groups are all about results. So I am teaching through a mindset of abundance is that there is enough out there for everybody. I want to see everyone win. I literally, genuinely do. But if it doesn't turn into a result, it's not worth anyone's time. And so when it comes to that, you got to think about things like taking things personal. It's not personal.
It is what it is.
It's just about setting the goalposts and being driven, just powerfully driven towards results. And if you're standing in the way of getting to that results, then let's tackle that. Then what is it about you that's standing in the way to getting into result? If it's more about the business, then let's talk about what in the business is getting in the way. But what I've found with a lot of Black, especially Black female entrepreneurs, it starts with them. And it's a little bit of things like, I'm worth it.
I'm always amazed by that. It's like, yeah, it's funny. Like, I make this joke about the fact that, at the beginning of the year, I doubled my prices. And they're like, why'd you do that? I'm like, 'cause I've been in business 7 years. Big brands pay me. Why in the world am I trying to be cheap about this? Because if it was anybody else, they probably are triple my price. Mm-hmm. So me being double is because I know the value of what I do and the things I won't do. It's like, yeah, I don't need to help Pookie and them. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry. can't. It's like, we've got bills to pay. We've got companies to build. We can lift others as we climb, and we can't do that if we're always in the same middle ground, can't get to the next level.
And worthy, this idea of being worthy, it is a word that we all know, but honestly, I'm not sure if we've actually done the work to really understand and kind of peeled back the onion and understanding, do I operate in a place where I'm building value, so therefore people see value within me? And so, those are the types of conversations that I like to have in my business coaching as well in the mastermind groups of truly let's create a safe space to say enough is enough. The biggest issue for me is when I walk in the room, I'm fearful. I don't walk in the room thinking
I can run this,
that I can do this, or that my company can manage this new account, or not. There's all of these questions and anxiety around worthiness. And so, how do we strengthen that muscle? And so I think through this mindset shift, I talk a lot about scarcity versus abundance, which is not novel. I did not come up with it. I don't own it. But it is something that I have put into practice and strengthened over time, and I know that it works.
And can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what's sort of the blend or dichotomy of strength, scarcity versus abundance?
Yeah. So, like, scarcity, when you think about like what scarcity creates, it, among other things like stress and anxiety, but like in the world, scarcity creates things like war, like poverty. Why? It's because you believe that there's only enough, like I have to hold because I have to win. You have to lose in order for me to win. I use the example, I think, when I spoke on Thursday, it's like wearing scuba gear. And so although you can have a great dive, you have a finite amount of oxygen. And the moment you get low, and if someone comes over and wants to borrow someone's got to lose. And the scarcity mindset that you often even put on yourself is that I'm not, it's the stress and anxiety of I'm not enough. Or I have to beat out this person in order for me to kind of get ahead. And marketers, myself, we create that environment. How many times do we say limited slots open, limited time only for this weekend?
Selected quantities.
I mean, marketers have created this environment of scarcity that makes you feel like that builds this anxiety and stress. The other end of that, and it's a very simple concept, is just that there's more than enough. And what comes out of abundance are things like increase. You see things that have come out of it: love, joy, happiness. Very soft things. I'm definitely bringing about. But when you really believe that there's more than enough, I don't need to worry about if there's enough oxygen in this space. I just need to focus on how do I get to the next goal. Then your focus and your shifting the energy goes into what's going to drive me towards the results, and not all of the barriers that you've created or you've created that get in the way of you getting to the result.
And what would you say has been like, what's the one thing that you sort of seen as a trend of a lot of female founders and Black female founders? Because I feel like, I have a lot of these conversations with my girlfriends where I oftentimes have to sort of be like, no, there's money, go after it, you deserve it. But where do you think it's coming from? Where do you think that sort of, I always make jokes because I'm an immigrant, like I came here with my parents. So like the idea of like failing doesn't exist in my universe. Mm-hmm. And, we came from an upper middle class family. Like I went to private school. So like, again, the idea of failing is just not me.
Yeah.
But I want to be supportive to a lot of my fellow female founders and being like, hey, listen, like, why wouldn't you do this? So where do you think it comes from, whereby like this, like, I'm not worth it, I'm not there?
Well, I think some of it is that we're just unaware that it's out there.
So knowledge is the key.
So there's a baseline of I can truly ask someone for $1 million and there's $1 million to be had. Like,
Come from a place of abundance.
Right. Come from a place of, I can go to a Mondelez and ask a brand to give me $1 million, and they have $1 million to give.
Hey, Leslie, I have $1 million thing for you. Remind me after the show.
and so you don't really know, because it's beyond anything that you may have ever experienced for yourself. But you're coming across and you're competing against people who have no problem asking for multi-million-dollar contracts. It just as comfortable as you're asking for 5,000, as you feel like, okay, that feels manageable. Your peers are comfortable asking for 5 million with the same blink of the eye.
Yeah.
The same blink of the eye. So I don't think it always starts with the place of a place as I'm worthy of just knowing that it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to kind of tell people that, and you can use an example. I was telling a friend of mine who has a business, and she would go around company to company asking for $5,000 here, $10,000 here. And we would partner with her and help her come up with different approaches. And finally, I was just like, I'm so tired of this. How much money do you need to put this program on? She's like, we really need $150,000. Then find someone to underwrite the entire thing. Like, this is ridiculous. Go find one person to give you $150,000. Now, when you say that to some of us, they're like, well, I've never done that. Who does that? I mean, like, who do I go to? But we don't even put ourselves in the position to know what to ask for, and then to
know who to ask. Yeah, I find that it's funny that your timing is impeccable, because we're just having this conversation because, I had a number in my head for a project that I'm doing, and then my new producer, who comes from a big agency, and part of the reason I brought her on is because I kind of want her to sort of step into a more senior role, provided that things go well, so that I can focus on selling some of the bigger stuff. And the number that even I, as super aggressive Laura, came up with, she's like, double that.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, we're an amazing agency. Like, go do it. And I'm like, no, you're right. No, why am I even wasting time about it? Yep, you're right.
Because you know what? Now, sitting on the other side as a client, if you're coming to, I'm going to be quite honest, we laugh. We're like, really? Then we start to question. Why is the number so low? Are they not going to be able to produce the quality that we want?
That's why they want to give you this much money. And I'm always like, no, go big or go home.
If you're asking me for $50,000, first off, if I'm almost $1 billion brand, I'm like, no. First off, whatever you're going to do for me for $50,000 is not going to be worth my time, because exactly. The same work that I have to do to partner with you for $50,000 is what I got to do to partner with someone for $10 million. The same work, same paperwork. I got to do the same work. I got to meet with you the same amount of times. So I'd rather not. And so I think when people hear that harsh reality of the reason that you're getting a no is because honestly, you're not making it worth anyone's while. Your own,
no way,
or the client.
Yeah, you have to craft the story where it's like, here's why this is of value, and we all fall into this trap of like when you're doing, because you're at a certain level and you're like, all right, I can be there, but it's always you can always go further, because no one's $1 billion yet. So like until you get to $1 billion, right, why not just keep pushing forward to get to that next level? And stretch it. The worst they're going to do is tell you no, or, okay, I don't have 10 million, here's 3.
Right.
Am I going to be upset with getting 3 versus 10?
Right.
I had 0 to start. So
the scarcity mindset gets you to that limiting mindset of, you have already told me as a client how much money I got. You don't know how much money I have. And money follows great ideas. So ask for what you want, not what you want, what you need.
What you need.
Ask for what you need, and then let's have a conversation. But if you tell me, well, it's only probably worth $100,000, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to pay you $1 million. I'm going to give you $100,000, but I'm also going to question, because I still want the same quality of work that I need and require for my business. I'm going to now question. So the questioning comes from, not do I believe that you're not a highly capable agency because you're a Black woman? No, it's because, why are you giving me a bargain basement price? I want high quality work.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing where I think a lot of times, especially when folks come from working in multicultural, they are accustomed to getting like the lowest possible parts of the budget. So because, like, for example, I've never worked in multicultural in my entire career, and so like I don't have that mindset. I'm like, no, it costs what it costs what it costs. But that's me. I think I see it far more with my fellow female founders, whether they're white, Hispanic, or Black, and they feel as if like it's not enough. So how do you begin to build a mindset of abundance and like I take no crap and like I am worth it? Like what are the kind of like top 3 things that you think should be in your head every single day as a CEO going forward?
So the first thing I would say is, I hate to kind of use a cliche, like if money were an object, like if you erased everything, what do you need in order for your business to sustain the next 3 to 5 years and grow at 10 to 20%, whatever the growth rate you need? And really be honest in understanding what that is. I ask people all the time, if I were to give you $10 million, do you know what you would do with it? So there's got to be work on the owner's part to really know and accept, I'm going to be a business owner that has a $50 million business, because accepting that that's where you're going to be is step 1 as well. So knowing what that number is and sitting in that and being like, yeah, my business is actually worth $100 million. So that's the first start of shifting. So I need to start operating as a business that's $100 million business as I'm getting to that place. But if you don't know what that target is and then begin to operate in that space, to me, that's point number 1. Number 2, I would always surround myself with people who are driven, who you are feeding off of, who are feeding off of you, and who are not letting your ass slip. And they are helping you with the results. And that's, to me, where I talk about, like I would say, masterminds groups, the people who are accountable to your success. And they know what the goal is, if it's $50 million. And the only questions they're asking you, what are the things that you've done today to get you to $50 million? Point blank and period. So really having the right circle of people around you who are really holding you accountable to that goal. And so then the third thing I would just say is continuing. I always think about 2 steps ahead. Picking up opportunities, not for the sake of a scarcity mindset, because I have one employee and I need to pay them next month, or because we have to cross this one next threshold. What is the next threshold helping and putting you in place for the next step? We should always be thinking 2 steps ahead. One opportunity should be creating the next opportunity, and you should already know what that second opportunity
the family tree
is.
It's like that begat that begat that.
Yes.
Begat.
And if you don't know, if there's one opportunity that's presented to you and you can't think about how it's going to help to get to step 2, then it may not be for you. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm going to work on brand X with this $1 million project. And the idea is that like they've seen what we can do with $1 million. Now give me 10.
Right.
So let me put myself in a position to be talking about 10, talking about, how to get to 10, what that can actually look like while you're on 1.
Right. Matter of fact, you're selling the 10. You're saying, and before we get to the 10, let's do this smaller project, and then to your point, working that 10. But that's always the goal. And the person on the other side of the table wants to know you're thinking 2 steps ahead as well. People want partnership. No one wants to go into a one and done relationship, whether it be in business or in life. So if you're thinking partnership, you got to be thinking the 2 steps ahead. What is this next opportunity positioning me for?
So you're about to start your own business.
Yes.
What scares you the most? And you are scared. Don't even go.
Yes.
Don't give me that.
I'm not. I'm more scared than anything. I think what makes me nervous is that I can fall back in the same rabbit hole. So soon as I think I want to be driven by what my purpose is and what I believe I should be doing. But it was very easy for you to go back and do what's comfortable.
Exactly.
So the day that I had said that I was going to be leaving Mondelez, the same day, they called me back and said, "Oh, but would you take this other role?" And I'm like, "Well, no, because
I'm leaving.
I'm going to be leaving, and I've already mentally prepared myself for that." And knowing when one door is closing because other doors are opening, again, that 2 steps ahead, you kind of gotta push through, and that's what I'm working through. Agencies that I've worked with prior, immediately called and said, "Well, hey, come to us and do some brand strategy work. Freelance, we'd love for you to sit in house and do that." And as much as I love that, and in the right environment or circumstance, I don't mind doing that, but it's more of the same. And so I'm most scared of kind of going to where I'm comfortable versus the place where I know I'm being kind of led to kind of uncharted territory.
Can I give you some advice as someone who's done this for 7 years? Whatever you do, don't work from home. Because
tell me why.
It's a mindset thing. Mm-hmm. What happens when you work from home is that home is already comfortable, and home gives you an opportunity to not be around other people who are in the business of doing business. And there is something really, really tangible about the fact around being people who are also working towards a goal, whether or not they're your coworkers or you're working in a co-working space. But being around people drives you forward. And your mindset's going to shift in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. But one of the things that I immediately decided to do the minute I decided to quit my job and do DF full time is that I would not go in a coffee shop. I would find places to get work done where I'd be around other people who were doing things. So whether it be a co-working space or whether it be the library, I found other kind of friends' offices to kind of squat in for a bit until I finally settled on the co-working space that I work out of now. And we've been there for 5 years. And, our cousin's company has grown, contractually grown, and where we are right now, I couldn't imagine, well, for a couple of reasons, not working somewhere at the co-working space. Like having a kind of closed office where it's just the 5 of us sitting there, all looking at each other. No. You need that mental push forward. And so when you get up, you go to the coffee machine, and you see that, and you see people are working, see people are getting contracts made and signing things and seeing people have guests come in. There is really something intangible about that that's going to be, because you're going to have really crappy days.
Yeah.
Days where you're what? No, I'm going to go back and make bank, call it a day. But when you have those days, when you can kind of look around and go grab a coffee and then see, Mary, who's a lawyer, and you talk to her for a couple seconds and, hey, how was the weekend? There is something about that ability to communicate with other folks, and that, especially being you're such a friendly and personable person, to be by yourself is the worst thing you could ever possibly do.
I can see, because let me tell you, I can work hard and I can chill with the best of them. So my house is probably not a safe haven.
Nope. It is not a safe haven. It's I have great recommendations for you. Laura has a hookup everywhere.
Yeah.
So wherever you you live in the city or you live in Westchester?
I live in the city in Harlem, yeah.
Oh, dude, go to WeWork Harlem or grind where I am on 39th.
So, no, but thank you. I mean, because, it's the very practical things like that I think people leapfrog over and still wonder why something isn't working for them.
Yeah, it's because it's also you immediately go, wait a minute, what? No. But then once, especially even if you've been in corporate, because I have friends who've left corporate, then immediately went into something new, and they're like, and you're like, no. First of all, buy some jeans.
Right.
get some cute shoes, and get you behind to a co-working space, because you need to be around other people, because it is very earth-shattering for you to go from being boss lady and everyone knowing your thing and having your budget to wherever you need to be, to being what? No. What are you talking about?
No, I'm gonna try that, and it also will give me an opportunity just to, try on some different things with folks who are around.
Do the tour, like I said, do the WeWorks, come to grind, go to Blender. But, you can do a free day. You can do a day for like $50 until you find somewhere that feels like home. Because you're going to need that. Because like it really is important. Like I can't stress enough how much. Because like, I'll work from home. I'll feel totally comfortable. I'm like, no, because then who'll come knocking on your door. Hey, Leslie's home.
Right,
come on,
right,
girl.
right.
You got some prosecco? Come on.
Yes.
Like literally, that is what will happen.
Yeah.
So that's something I think is really important. You make sure you have business insurance.
Yes.
Make sure you have your tax ID and bank account. Those
have
things.
That check.
Gotta have all of those. Do you have some operating agreements in place for clients?
I do not. It's the honest to goodness truth.
Do you have a lawyer?
I do have a lawyer.
Okay, so ask your lawyer to set up some contracts. This is all also really important for like the mental gymnastics to trick yourself that you actually are a business person. Mm-hmm. You need official operating agreements. If anyone's going to work with you, get like scope of work agreements done so that you have them. It's really important to build processes and procedures in that, like, you are running a business, not a charity, not a thing that you're doing on the side, not like I'm just a floaty consultant. No, I am running a business. It's big on the mindset.
I was talking to a friend about what's the difference between some businesses that work it was like some are run like hobbies.
You're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to be a wantrepreneur. And even though you can be smart and badass as possible, I have seen so many friends who went corporate and then tried to be a consultant and like lost their minds after like 3 months and they were running back to corporate. And I'm like, dude, you have what it takes. Like, no, this is not for me. Like, I can't do this. And I'm like, okay, it's not for everybody. I totally understand. So, question for you. So, mastermind group. Mm-hmm. Is it like 4 people sitting around having some wine, talking about how they each have a client who's driving them crazy? Or is it more about, is there a structured class? Is it an hour? Is it led by a facilitator? Because I said, like, it's weird that the timing is that I'm hearing a lot more about this 7 years into having a business.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's now becoming the thing du jour.
But actually not. I mean, it's huge in the tech. Like how I found out about it or heard about it them initially. What's the guy from Smart Passive Income? Pat Flynn. That's exactly. Yes. And he talks about mastermind groups. And then when I started to when we did Mobile Futures and talk to other kind of tech owners who were all in these like inextricably linked groups. And I'm like, but how did someone get in? They're like, what do you mean? We've been together since Brown or wherever it was. And we mastermind together. And that's kind of how we work. So I do think that they've been going on longer than maybe what, but they have become maybe the new thing that people are talking about. So, okay, you didn't ask that question. The question was, how does it work? So for mine, and I've only facilitated 2, to be completely honest, but it is something, but I've participated in 1 for years. And so the way that mine operate is there are no more than 6 people. The number one thing that it requires is that getting the right group of people together. What you don't want is someone who is just starting their business a month ago, still figuring out who they are, and someone who's been in business like yourself for 7 years. Different challenges. You want to kind of have folks who are who have similar opportunities or challenges within their businesses, but also bring maybe a unique skill set. So you may have someone who is really capable from a marketing and perspective, or they're really great with funding or really great in finance, but they just don't, they don't have all the other pieces. And there's someone who sits on a hot seat. And there could be 2 people who sit on a hot seat. Every once a month is what we do, ours. And you sit up there and you can say, like, I'm really been trying to close this deal. It's been going on for the past 5 months and I'm at a wall. I don't know what needs to be done, how does my company need to operate differently to get this closed? And then the people in this room are offering insights, ideas. I'm hoping to come with an aha for you to kind of take away that's really results driven. Like, what can you actively do within the next 30 days that's going to drive towards a different result. And so the facilitator is there to, one, make sure that they're answering your question, because it's very easy to kind of give a very surface answer. Like, well, I mean, did you call them? Did you email them?
Yeah.
Did you email them back? I mean, like, it's meant to be a group of people, a safe space where you can have real, brutal, honest conversations, and it's just about getting to the results. Like, well, what's getting in the way? What are you asking for? Do you know what they want? They're not saying yes to you because maybe you don't know what they actually want. And so the group comes together every month to help the person on the hot seat solve a particular problem. And so what makes them successful is if people truly feel like they're getting value and they're getting some results out of it, and they're not getting that surface. There's like, no, 30 days ago, I said I had this problem. Here's what I did. There's someone following up. So I, as a facilitator, follow up every week and say, okay, so how is this going? What did it net you? Do we need to kind of zig and zag between now and the next time we get together? So it's an accountability circle, which also serves as a way to, bring new ideas to solving problems.
And how do people find these?
So you can find the ones through me on the fire.
Right. These are ones that we're going to promote on the show, clearly.
On the fireopal.com.
And are they fee services?
And so
how do they work?
So the one that I've participated in for years has been free. And we started off with a facilitator, and we've actually become a well-oiled machine where we don't use the facilitator anymore, which is now why it's free, because we're no longer using someone else's time, but we still get something out of the sessions. I've seen mastermind groups charge anywhere between like $300 a month to $1,000 a month. I think it's relative to what someone feels like they're getting out of it. If I were a business owner, I am a business owner, but I'm just using this type. If I felt like I could really say there were ideas and things that came out of my participation in this group that I can attribute to, this would not have happened to my business, I would not have landed this contract, these things would not have happened in my business, I'd say, then you're in the right mastermind group. And if I were a business owner, $300 a month would be a drop in the bucket if that's what I could, if that was the value that I was getting out of it. I, as a business owner, I don't do anything that's going to stretch me until I know there's going to be a result. So I know personally I can't afford $1,000 unless someone could guarantee that I was going to make some money as a result of it. And so I do think that there is a cost associated with, if you're having a facilitator there's time. A good facilitator is really driving towards getting to results, that you're not leaving that hot seat without something actionable to go and do and then follow up with over the next 30 days. But the cost and the value, I think, are relative to kind of what people are getting out of the experience.
And so if people are looking to try and find, one, go to fireopal.com.
The fireopal.
Thefireopal.com. We'll put that in the show notes and link directly to Leslie's site. So your advice for these founders who are looking to kind of go from a place of like, I'm kind of stuck, to the next level is, one, come from a place of abundance, two, get rid of that scarcity mindset, and three, begin to make investments in being a better leader. Mm-hmm. So whether that's getting a career coach or joining a mastermind group, what's one more thing you think is really important?
I would say, and it's just coming from a brand place, stay relevant. Know your business, know the trends, know what people are going to be looking for in your particular industry or space. As someone who sat on the brand side for a long time, I mean, we just don't know. We don't know. We are truly working with partners to help us understand spaces and trends and how our particular cohort or consumers are consuming either media differently, are purchasing products differently. And so if you're still if you're not relevant and you're not helping my brand think about opportunities differently, or a different cohort, if your cohort that you're working with are mostly African Americans, and that's a particular cohort that this brand is going after, then you can share some relevant information there. I think oftentimes we sit on kind of what's worked for us in the past and try to ride that horse
as long
as possible. And I say to that, everyone is reinventing and thinking for opportunities and trends in order to pursue. So I would encourage folks to be the most knowledgeable about the space that they're working in.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Leslie. That was wonderful. We will put all of this great information in the show notes about following you at the Fire Opal. I'm guessing on all social channels, right? Is also the
yes.
Cool. And why mastermind groups are so very important. You know, how to get yourself ready to rock and roll to be successful, and come from a place of abundance. You are worth more than you are actually thinking you are. So please do so. And
stop stressing yourself out.
Yeah, definitely. And again, thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you all for listening. Have a good day.
Thanks.
The Reset Podcast is sponsored by Bose. With my new Bose QC35 headphones, nothing gets between me and my music. The noise canceling is world class. They're completely Bluetooth, so there's no wires. The sound is amazing. My producer and I love these so much that we use them to record every single show. For more information about Bose QC35 headphones and other Bose products, check out Bose.com.
Audiation.